Hey everybody, it's Second Chance Adventures and it's time to eat supper, but it hasn't been cooked yet, and that's why we're here. We're gonna make some fried shrimp, mashed potatoes and gravy, some corn on the cob, green beans, and some biscuits. Just to let you guys know, I do make my own canned jam at home. See that? I made a rhyme. If you guys are ever interested in that, let me know in the comments below and I will make a recipe video on how I make homemade jam, and then I can it too using the water bath technique. So let's get in the kitchen. I have everything all prepped up and ready to go. So let's head on in there, which also means I have to get out of my comfy big dog chair. That's okay. Let's go. Hey, we're in the kitchen. The first thing I'm gonna do is get the shrimp started. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add in my shrimp, my mustard, my sauce, my seasoning, and let it marinate overnight. Now the shrimp that I'm using is already cooked. But if you're gonna use shrimp that's not cooked, please make sure you cook it all the way to the proper temperature and make sure it's nice and pink, because the last thing we wanna do is go to the hospital for food poisoning. We don't have time for that, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Just follow along, and don't worry if you don't jot everything down right now. I will have everything in the description of the video. I'll write down what I'm using and how much I'm using. So it'll be right there for you, honey, don't worry. Okay, here we go. These are the ingredients that we're gonna use when we make our shrimp marinade. Just don't add the cornstarch and the panko just yet. We'll do that tomorrow after the marinade. We have Frank sauce, mustard, chili powder, tahini, pollo asada powder, seasoned salt, and garlic powder. We also have 1 egg. Let's go ahead and start getting things together. I'm going to go ahead and thaw out 8 medium-sized shrimp pieces. We're going to use 1 large egg. Add 2 tablespoons of red hot Frank sauce. 1 teaspoon of yellow mustard. 1/2 teaspoon of pollo asada powder. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. 1/2 teaspoon of seasoned salt. 1 tablespoon of tahini. And finally, 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. In a separate mixing bowl, add 3/4 cup of panko or any kind of breadcrumbs, and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. When all the ingredients are put together, it should look something like this. Go ahead and give it a little mixy and put it in the refrigerator and let it marinate. You can marinate it as long as you like. I'm actually going to let it marinate overnight. I'll see you guys tomorrow for part 2 of the video. Hey, we're back in the kitchen, and it's also tomorrow. Let's go ahead and start working on the vegetables. As the vegetables are cooking, we're also going to work on our shrimp at the same time. Let's go ahead and start working on our mashed potatoes and gravy. Here I have 7 russet potatoes. We're going to go ahead and peel them and dice them. You don't want them to be too big because it'll take too long to cook. But if you cut them too small, then they'll just turn to mush, and that's not what we're here for. We're here for some nice, fluffy, delicious mashed potatoes and gravy. It should look like this when you're done. Now that our potatoes are done, let's give them a nice little bath in cold water. We're going to go ahead and give them a nice little rinse. Make sure you get every little piece. Do what you need to do to make sure it all gets nice and rinsed off. Get a little rough with it if you need to. Show them who the boss is. So I have the potatoes in a pot of hot water. We're going to go ahead and let that boil. And make sure to keep stirring it every few minutes. You don't want it to stick or anything like that. Just keep it going. I also like to put a little bit of salt in the water. You don't have to. It's just something that I do. Now that our potatoes are on the stove, we're going to go ahead and start working on the green beans and the corn on the cob. In a small bowl, I have about 30 pieces of fresh green beans that have been cut on the ends, 2 small pieces of mini corn on the cobs, and 1 large yellow onion. You can either dice them or keep them in slices. Me, I'm just going to keep them in slices. This is what it should look like after being sliced. I'm going to take the corn and the green beans and I'm going to boil them on the stove. Once the water comes to a boil, I'm going to start a timer for 15 minutes. The reason why I'm going to do that is because I want them to be nice and soft. I want them to be soft because I'm going to saute them with the onions. It tastes so good. Vegetables are so good when they're sauteed, especially with onion and garlic. I love it. So here we go. Now that we have you taken care of, we need to worry about you now. It's time to take you off and set you aside for just a little bit. I'm just going to leave it in the strainer for a little bit. It's fine. It's fine. So our potatoes are done. We're going to check really quick. So what you want to do, you want to take a fork and you want to try and get a little piece and stick it through. If I can get one. If it's nice and soft, it's ready. But if it's kind of hard and you kind of have to force it to go in there, it's not ready. but it's ready. It's soft and not mushy. We're going to drain it, get all the water out, and then we're going to start putting in some seasoning, some milk, some butter, and we're going to go from there and make some mashed potatoes and gravy. Here are the ingredients that we're going to use to make our mashed potatoes. We're going to use salt and pepper, minced garlic, butter, pollo asada powder, and some milk. First, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of butter, some salt and pepper to taste, depending on your cholesterol level, 1½ teaspoon of pollo asada, 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, and 3/4 cup of milk. Just go ahead and throw it in there and give it a nice little mixy like this. Oh yeah! You have to do it in style. Just thought I'd throw something a little fun in for you. And here we have our mashed potatoes. Nice and fluffy, creamy, buttery, with some garlic in it, just the way I like it. Now we're just going to make some brown gravy, because let's just be honest, brown gravy is way better than white gravy. We're going to make some brown gravy. I have a cup cold water. I have a package of McCormick brown gravy, because let's just be honest, McCormick is amazing. And we're going to go ahead and turn it on high. We're going to stir it, and when it starts to bubble, we're going to take it right off and let it thicken up. Because let's just be honest, it's nice when it's a little thicker. Mixy. Now that we're nice and bubbly and thick, we're going to take it off the stove and leave it with its good friend, mashed potatoes. Because that's just how good friends should be. They should just stick together. And last but not least, we're going to now work on our shrimp. Here's the shrimp that we marinated last night. I gave it a nice little mixy just to keep it nice and moisturized. Here's our little dry concoction of the breadcrumbs and the cornstarch. We're going to go ahead and transfer this to this and get it nice and coated. But before we do that, we need to get our pan ready. So just get a nice little pan, put some oil in it, let it heat up like on medium. But you don't want it to get too hot because shrimp doesn't take very long to cook. We don't want to burn it either because it's really small. The smaller it is, the faster it'll cook. So we don't want it to be too high because we don't want burnt shrimp. That's not what we're about. So let's go get our pan ready. Hello again, Mr. and Mrs. Mashed Potatoes and Gravy. We're just going to add one more new neighbor here. We're going to heat up some oil in a pan. We're going to let it heat up. I have it on about number 5. So we're going to let it heat up and we're going to go ahead and mix in our shrimp with our breadcrumbs and the cornstarch. So when I cook shrimp, I usually like to cook it for about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Again, shrimp does not take very long to cook. Also because it's very light and small in size, so it, again, just doesn't take so long. It's already been a few minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and turn one over real quick. That nice little breading. It needs to cook just a little bit longer, so we're going to flip you right back over there, little Betty. It's looking really good. I don't even like shrimp, but it actually smells good in here. Once this is done, I'm going to put it on the plate, I'm going to plate everything up, and then the last thing we're going to do is make up biscuits. So dinner's almost ready, guys. Go wash up. It's almost time. Ooh, look at that color. Isn't it nice? It's nice and crispy on the outside, and that's exactly what we wanted. It smells so good in here. I wish I could send you guys the smell of my kitchen right now. We're going to go ahead and cook it just for a couple more minutes, then we're going to put it on the plate with the mashed potatoes. Ooh, you're looking really good over there. Now we're going to work on sauteing our vegetables. I have some oil in the pan. Here's my onions. I'm going to go ahead and add that real quick, and we're going to add the green beans next. In goes our green beans. And don't forget to give it a nice little stir. Make sure it gets all nice and mixed up in there. Sometimes if you want to, you can add some minced garlic. I would add about a teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half. But I already have plenty of minced garlic going on in the dish already, and I don't want to overkill it, so I'm not going to add any this time, but I usually do, but not this time. So just go ahead and keep stirring it every few minutes because you don't want it to burn. You want to keep it nice and soft. All the smells are going to come out. It's going to smell really good. Your neighbors are going to be jealous. But you know what? Let them be jealous because this is your creation, honey. I'm going to go ahead and make my biscuits in my air fryer. I'm just going to make one because we're only going to have one person eat. I can't eat biscuits anyways because, you know, gastric bypass surgery. I'm going to use my air fryer and I'm going to show you the magic numbers. Here we go. Now that our vegetables are nice and sauteed, we're going to go ahead and plate it with everything else and have our dinner. Enjoy! Oh yeah, it looks wonderful. We have some sauteed green beans and onion, corn on the cob, fresh made mashed potatoes, some crispy shrimp, and a fresh baked biscuit. Doesn't this look good? But if you have gastric bypass surgery, you know you can't have this. But you know somebody else will enjoy it, and that's okay too. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching that video. I hope you really had fun and learned a couple things. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate a subscription to the channel. We just reached over 200 subscriptions. One of these days, I know it, we're going to reach at least 1 million subscriptions. And when we do, we are going to party, and I will make a party just for you, because the channel is nothing without the audience. Again, I hope you had fun, and I'll see you in the next video. If you have any ideas of something that I can make, whether it's a beverage, a snack, a main meal, a side dish, anything, or anything for the holiday, let me know. I would love to try something new and see how I like it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good rest of the day. Bye!